Ease of production, the importance of being earnest. Oscar Wilde's The Importance of Being Earnest is a play about two rich gentlemen, John Jack Worthing and Algernon Moncrief, who make up false aliases to get out of certain social situations and as an excuse to travel. Throughout the assigned scene, we see Algernon discover that Jack has a false alias and reveals that he too has one, and they discuss how they both use them. Though some aspects of this play might be difficult to stage, such as the costume design, the overall level of difficulty is fairly easy, because staging aspects such as the setting and props are relatively easy. The costume design would be one aspect of the scene that would be more difficult to discern from the information given. Wilde never directly describes what the characters in the scene are wearing, and the only direct reference to a piece of clothing is mentioned in one of Jack's stage directions, pulling off his gloves. This being the only mention of costume in the entire scene, the person staging the production has to base the costumes on their knowledge of the general time frame of the play and the fact that Jack and Algernon are wealthy and Lane is a servant. Depending on the person's designing the costume's background knowledge on that period, it may require some research to figure out exactly what wealthy men and servants wore at the time, and some creative thinking on the part of that person. The overall vagueness and lack of detail, when it comes to the costumes, is what would make this aspect of production difficult. It is important that this part of the process is accurate because it helps further how immersed the person is in the play, and the difficulty of it makes more time and energy go into designing the costumes. One aspect that would be relatively easy while staging the production is the setting for the scene because of how Wilde sets up the scene and also because of the information provided in stage directions. In his introduction to the scene, Wilde sets up the scene stating, "The room is luxuriously and artistically furnished." This small piece of information gives us an idea of the quality of the furniture in the room, but not exactly what kind. Later on, we learn that there's a couch when Wilde writes Jack's stage direction, sitting down on couch. One can also reasonably assume that there is a table, because Lane leaves sandwiches in the room, and it is unreasonable to assume that he set them on the floor. With this information, one can get a general idea on the setting in the scene, which is that it is a lavishly furnished room with at least a couch and a table. It could be assumed that there are other pieces of furniture in the room, but these are the only two necessary as props in the scene. We are given enough information in Wilde's directions to make a set that will be accurate enough for the scene, which is important because we need an accurate set to stage the play correctly. Another visual aspect of the scene that would be easy while staging the play would be discerning which props to use in the scene. One can easily make a list of all the props necessary for the production based on dialogue, such as when Algernon is speaking to Lane, saying, "Bring me the cigarette case Mr. Worthing left in the smoking room the last time he dined here." We know, because of this piece of dialogue, that the cigarette box will be a prop used during the play. By simply reading both stage directions and dialogue in the play, one could find all of the props necessary for the scene, which is important because one cannot perform the scene correctly without the necessary props. A production of this scene from The Importance of Being Earnest would not be very difficult to stage overall because most of the visual aspects, such as setting and props, would be relatively easy to make and set up for the production because enough information is given on them both through dialogue and stage direction. Other elements, however, such as the costume design, would make it a little more difficult because of the vagueness and lack of information given on them throughout the scene. Thank you.